cellular respiration is one of the most important process in the Earth's ecosystem. It is to produce direct biological energy, breaking down food. Living cells require energy from outside sources. Some animals, such as giraffes, obtain energy by eating plants, and some animals feed on other organisms that eat plants. Energy flows into an ecosystem as sunlight and leaves as heat. Photosynthesis generates O2, an organic molecule, which are used in cellular respiration. Cells use chemical energy stored in organic molecules to generate ATP, which powers work. Okay, this one showing you the two most important metabolic pathways in the Earth's ecosystem: photosynthesis and cellular respiration. And as we discussed already, the two most important organelle and the furnished organelle, chloroplast and mitochondrion, they are responsible for this photosynthesis and cellular respiration. And the relationship between photosynthesis in chloroplast and cellular respiration in mitochondria, they show very mysterious relationship. For the photosynthesis, they need CO2 from the air and H2O, water from the soil. With those material, sunlight is gonna convert it into the organic molecule, sugar, and O2, oxygen, is gonna release out as byproduct. And this organic molecule or sugar, in the presence of O2, they're gonna go through that cellular respiration to produce ATP and some heat, and the byproduct is gonna be CO2, carbon dioxide, and H2O, water. That's the exact raw material required for photosynthesis back. So that's why between photosynthesis and cellular respiration, CO2 and H2O is going into the photosynthesis with sunlight, and they produce organic molecule and O2. These organic molecules and O2 is gonna use up completely for cellular respiration and produce ATP, and leftover is gonna come back into CO2 and H2O. So they show complete cycling between photosynthesis and cellular respiration. There is no leftover. They're showing complete cycling between photosynthesis and cellular respiration. It's kind of very mysterious, between those two processes. catabolic pathways yield energy by oxidizing organic fuel. Catabolic pathways release stored energy by breaking down complex molecules. And electron transport plays a major role in these pathways. Electron gonna get transfer. They change their partner. These processes are central to cellular respiration. The breakdown of organic molecules is catabolic. Fermentation is a partial degradation of sugars that occurs without O2. So that process without O2. And aerobic. Okay, in biology, aerobic means little different. In everyday living language, the aero means just it is related to the air. However, in biological sense, aero means it's just indicating oxygen, O2. So that's why aerobic respiration means it requires O2. So aerobic respiration consumes organic molecules and O2 and yields ATP. Cellular respiration includes both aerobic and anaerobic respiration, but is often used to refer to aerobic respiration. So usually when we call cellular respiration, that means aerobic respiration. It needs O2. It consumes O2. Although carbohydrate, fats, and proteins are all consumed as fuel for cellular respiration, it is helpful to trace cellular respiration with the sugar glucose. So by the convenience for our discussion, we're going to start from glucose, C6H12O6. And the equation, C6H12O6 plus 6O2 gonna become 6CO2 and 6H2O plus energy in forms of ATP and heat. You don't have to try to memorize this equation, never mind. So if you just forget, it's okay. Cellular respiration usually explained by redox reaction. Redox reaction means that's the oxidation and reduction reaction. Because cellular respiration, the glucose molecule gonna get broken down and electron gonna come out. Electron gonna released out from glucose when glucose molecule getting broken down. And those electrons gonna go through some pathway. Eventually, it's gonna transfer into O2, and the energy level going down from glucose all the way going down, all the way into O2. And electron gonna get flow from one molecule to another, changing partner. And the energy stored inside the electron, it gonna convert it into the forms of ATP. That's why cellular respiration, it can be explained by redox reaction. So flowing and transferring electron changing partner all the way into O2, and the energy stored inside the electron is converted into the form of ATP. That's why it is explained by redox reaction. The transfer of electron during the chemical reactions releases energy stored in organic molecule. This released energy is ultimately used to synthesize ATP. The principle of redox reaction. Chemical reactions that transfer electrons between reactants are called oxidation reduction reactions, or just called redox reactions. So redox reaction, it is combined by oxidation and reduction. And what is oxidation and reduction? In oxidation, a substance loses electron or is oxidized. When a chemical loses electron, then we call that chemical is oxidized. And reduction is opposite. In reduction, a substance gains electron and it is called reduced. So when a chemical gains electron from outside, we call that chemical is reduced. Okay, when electron from Na transferred into Cl, then Na gonna become Na plus and Cl gonna become Cl minus. In this case, Na lost electron, so we call Na is oxidized into Na plus. How about Cl? Cl, after gaining electron from Na, it is reduced into Cl minus. So it is just one transfer of electron, but it is explained by Na is oxidized and Cl minus is reduced. So that's why actually it is one step. That's why sometimes it can be explained by two steps, oxidized and reduced, by we call this one step. That's why we call this is redox reaction. It is involving transfer of electron. It is same, yeah. When X lost electron, then it's gonna become oxidized. When Y molecule gain electron from X, it is reduced. So put together, we call that's the redox reaction. It is related to electron transfer from one molecule to another. Oxidation of organic fuel molecule, like the glucose molecule, gonna get oxidized during the cellular respiration. So during cellular respiration, the fuel such as glucose is oxidized. They losing electron when glucose molecule get broken down. And those released out electron, they change the partner step by step, and eventually O2 gonna get reduced. So it's gonna get transferred into O2 reducing O2. As I mentioned earlier, you don't have to memorize this equation. And if you understand just concept, that's enough. So C6H12O6, that's the what? That's the glucose. So we can start from glucose in the presence of O2. So that's why C6H12O6 plus 6O2. So just never mind 6, but just remember O2. So cellular respiration, that's the aerobic respiration, that's why we need O2. So in the presence of O2, glucose molecule gonna get broken down into CO2, never mind 6, into CO2, carbon dioxide. So when glucose molecule, sugar molecule, broken down completely, then CO2 gonna come out. Then how about O2? Why we need O2 for cellular respiration? Because in nature, O2, that's the one of the strongest electron acceptor. That's why when electron coming out from glucose molecule, those released electron gonna get accepted by O2. That's why we need O2. So these O2, after accepting electron, then electron means minus, 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 So just a minus, minus, that's not fair, So make it natural molecule after getting electron, after accepting electron. So after getting electron, that O2, they accept H plus ion at the same time and become water. That's why water coming out. So that's why the glucose molecule C6H12O6 in the presence of O2, it converted into CO2 because glucose molecule get broken completely, CO2 come out. And when O2 receive electron, they receive H plus ion, proton at the same time and become water. That's why water coming out. And energy gonna get released out from a high energy from the electron. So energy gonna get released out. This energy can be used to produce ATP, and some leftover released out as heat. That's why. So if you understand just equation, not just the mathematical equation, but if you understand the flow, that's enough. So I want you to understand just concept, not the number. As I mentioned earlier, cellular respiration. In cellular respiration, the glucose molecule get broken and electron released out. Those electron changing partner by step. It is transferred all the way into O2, and the energy stored inside the electron, it can be converted in forms of ATP. So the released out electron, they change the partners and eventually it's gonna transfer into O2. However, the first partner, the electron released out from glucose, it gonna get transferred first into so-called NAD. So I can say NAD, his role, his mission is a delivery of electron from glucose into so-called, later on, so-called electron transport chain. Electron transport chain, it is very important to produce ATP. inside the mitochondria. Anyway, so NAD, I can say NAD, that's the electron delivery man, I can say. Yeah? Electron delivery man, NAD. So the stepwise energy harvest via NAD plus and the electron transport chain. In cellular respiration, glucose and other organic molecules are broken down in a series of steps. Electrons from organic compounds or glucose are usually first transferred to electron delivery man NAD+. Actually, that's a coenzyme. As an electron acceptor, NAD+ function as an oxidizing agent during cellular respiration. So never mind oxidizing, but those NAD+, they're gonna carry electron from glucose. So after gaining electron from glucose or other organic molecule, it reduced into NADH. So the reduced form of NAD plus into NADH. So each NADH represents stored energy that is tapped to synthesize ATP. This one showing you the structure of NAD and NADH, NAD plus form and NADH form. So oxidized form, NAD plus form, and reduced form, NADH form. So actually, the full name of NAD, it is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. So 2 nucleotide, we already discussed over the nucleic acid. Yeah. So nucleotide. So one, the nitrogenous base, little different from adenine, nicotinamide. The other one is adenine. So that's why the name is nicotinamide, adenine, and dinucleotide. And NAD plus form. And this NAD plus form, after getting electron from food, not the apple, but the food from glucose or other organic molecule, after getting electron, it reduced into NADH. So that's why compared to NAD plus form, they carry 2 electrons and 1 hydrogen in NADH. So after giving up electron and proton, hydrogen ion, then it turned back into NAD+. So it is, convertible. It is interconvertible. It can, after giving up electron, it turned back into NAD+. After NAD+ form receiving electron and proton, it turned back into NADH form. So it is interconvertible. This electron delivery man, NADH, what they do? This NADH passes the electrons to the electron transport chain. Unlike an uncontrolled reaction, the electron transport chain passes electron in a series of steps instead of one explosive reaction. O2 pulls electron down the chain, electron transfer chain in an energy yielding tumble. So step by step. The energy yielded is used to regenerate ATP in electron transport chain. This one is showing you the difference for the electron transfer into O2 directly or step-by-step transfer in cellular respiration. In direct transfer of electron into O2, then it's gonna make a heat and the flame gonna get released out explosively, so make fire. And the other one in cellular respiration, the electron gonna get delivered into O2 step by step, kind of gradual step. Then those energy can be, efficiently used up to produce ATP. So that's why the uncontrolled reaction, they releasing out just light and heat, that's it, not ATP. But in the cellular respiration, those step-by-step transfer of electron all the way into O2 to produce H2O, they can be used up to produce ATP. Okay, the whole process of cellular respiration, usually you're gonna get subdivided into 3 stages. So the stages of cellular respiration, harvesting of energy from glucose has 3 stages. First one is glycolysis. As you can guess, glyco means glucose, lysis means breaking down. So that's the breaking process for the glucose. So through the glycolysis, it breaks down glucose into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. And next one, that's the citric acid cycle. Sometimes we call that the Krebs cycle, K-R-E-B, Krebs cycle. Completes the breaking down of glucose. The last one is oxidative phosphorylation. Accounts for most of the ATP synthesis. So more than 90% of ATP, they are produced from this oxidative phosphorylation through electron transport chain. Glycolysis breaks down glucose molecule into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. And through the glycolysis, 2 molecules of ATP produced by substrate level phosphorylation, so-called, and high energy electron gonna get reduced into the electron delivery man, NADH. The end product of glycolysis, those pyruvic acid gonna get broken down a little bit more, become acetic acid. And as soon as they become acetic acid, they become acetyl coenzyme A after binding coenzyme A to acetic acid. Those acetyl coenzyme A join into citric acid cycle or Krebs cycle, produce another two molecules of ATP by substrate level phosphorylation, but most of the energy gonna get trapped into NADH, electron delivery man. They reduced, and very similar electron delivery man, FADH2. Reduced form of electron delivery man, NADH, produced from glycolysis, and another NADH and FADH2 produced from citric acid cycle, Krebs cycle. They transported into inner membrane of mitochondrion and go through the oxidative phosphorylation, along the electron transport chain, produced most of the number of ATP by oxidative phosphorylation.